Alors on continue cette séance.
So we're going to continue this session, and this time from another point of view, materials. It is a very important subject, of course. We have here with us somebody, and even two people, and we have Phil BUSARDO, who's an American reviewer. He has, had a flight of about 6,000 kilometers, and after 25 years of smoking, he started smoking electronic cigarettes. So, and in 2009, if I'm not mistaken, he stopped smoking the regular cigarette. So, as many people, and it has been said several times, the vaporizers have become more and more popular. The materials are becoming more and popular, and there are different types of materials. And this man who sits next to me has become a real specialist. He is humoristic, and he knows about all of the different types of things you can find on YouTube, for example. There's about 400,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel as well, if I'm not mistaken. And I would like to ask him a few technical questions. He we can see here GENFELIP as well from Quebec, Canada. You've been vaping for about 3 years now. And GENFELIP is going to talk about a difference, also the same subject, of course, e-cigarettes. And he also has a lot of subscribers to his YouTube channel. So welcome to both of you.
Perfect. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. This is beyond belief for me, and for all of you to be here listening to what I have to say right now. Merci, merci, merci. Really, thank you. This is big for me. So you said 400,000 subscribers?
No.
You were off by a little bit.
Non, j'ai dit 80 000.
80,000.
There you go, 80,000. Yeah, I heard 400,000. So, yeah, well, let's talk.
Bon, alors, vous êtes tous les deux à fond.
You know a lot about the materials, of course. If something new comes on the market, you're likely to know it. What is the influence of the reviewers and the reviews? What do the reviews have as an influence on the materials that are available on the market today?
I think we have actually a very large influence, not only with the materials and the way people are vaping, but also with some of the manufacturers. Okay, so companies like ENG, companies like Hanger, they take what we say very, very seriously, and they adjust their equipment and their materials and the way they produce things based on feedback from not only the reviewers, but also from other people in the community. And I think those are the companies who are going to be around for a longer period of time. Those companies who are actually listening to what's important to the vapors, not only the reviewers, but the vapors as well. And ENG is like one of the companies that's really in tune with what's going on in the community. You can see that based on how they adjust their products based on what I say. They have a Facebook now, so they have a lot of social media presence. So that's one of those companies to watch.
Jean-Philippe, le même sentiment?
Do you have the same feeling?
I do.
1, 2. Yes, absolutely, I have the same feeling. What is unbelievable is indeed that some very famous people in the United States, for example, Phil, have actual influence on these manufacturers. And even the French reviewers from Canada as well, from Quebec, likely every country in the world have an influence on certain companies in the world. And they start looking out for what we're saying. So then we're not. There's a lot of serious companies who do not only want to look for where the money is, but they listen to the users, they listen to the reviewers, because I think they have the best knowledge about the tools and what is happening within the community. I saw on Facebook, it's just an anecdote, Phil, that there was a society, a company from Asia, China, and they said, okay, about the last atomizer, Phil didn't like this or that, and they changed it. Is it something that happens a lot to you, that the manufacturers change?
It actually, first of all, you two sound so much sexier than I do. It's much, okay. But yeah, it happens a lot. And what I hate when it happens is when somebody already liked the product and they enjoyed the product, and then the manufacturer changes it based on what I said, even though they didn't want it to change. But yeah, I mean, I've seen that a lot of times. I've seen that on the Sigeli website, for an example. Yeah.
Alors en France, on parle souvent.
In France, we often, because we like wine in France, of course, and there's somebody who's very important in the world, in the French world of wine. And so if this person hears something and he's so influent in the world, then we could have a standard wine. The problem is we could have a standard wine. Is this the same thing for you, so that you have so much influence that you would have a standard vapor?
No, absolutely not. You know, somebody gave me an interesting email. This happened about a month ago. And they said, Phil, with everything that you know about PVs and advanced devices, why don't you design the perfect device? Okay, so let me turn this to the audience right now. How many people like tube mods? Okay. How many people like box mods? That is why there is no such thing as a perfect device. Very simple example, right? The only perfect device that's out there is the perfect device that's for you, right? Is the perfect device that's keeping you off of real cigarettes. That's the perfect device. Be that device a simple clearomizer or an ego or an advanced device or a mechanical or a dripper. Nobody's doing it wrong unless you're still smoking. That's when you're doing it wrong.
Ouais, c'est bien dit, je pense. Alors, si on rentre directement dans le détail.
Just to enter into detail, let's talk about materials. We often hear, and of course, not all people are as technology, but we often hear about the resistance, the coil. Could you explain us what the coil is?
It's the heart of your electronic cigarette. Without a coil, we're not getting vapor, okay? So you can think of the coil as the heater, all right? That's the thing that's in your electronic cigarette that's getting hot, that's boiling or vaporizing your e-liquid, okay? So without that coil, we have no vapor.
Okay. Et le coton,
And the cotton, why is it used? Is it used to feed actually the wicks or to feed the cigarette? Are there any other materials than cotton? Is it very popular or?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different materials, and I invite anybody to use the material that works the best for them if you're into rebuilding, okay? I personally like cotton. And I did an experiment with a few different wicking materials. I did the natural cotton. I did the Japanese cotton. I looked at the hemp, just to see. That was actually a very selfish thing for me to do because that was for me, but I happened to record it for you guys too, because I was looking for what was best for me, and what I found was the Kojendo cotton worked fantastic, okay? Rayon is another one of the materials that I looked at. And that worked well too, but I also invited people to use not only what works well, but what you're comfortable with, okay? So people might be afraid or not want to use something like a rayon because it is a man-made material. It is a chemically treated material. So until we, and let's be honest, okay? Kojendo might be just as bad for us, not saying it's bad for us, but it might be not good for us the same way rayon might not be good for us. But that's why testing is so important, okay? And testing in the environments that we use these materials in has to happen, has to continue. Now, whether you use that testing to adjust how you vape, that's up to you. But at least we can have the knowledge to make a more educated decision on how we vape.
Alors, la question délicate.
Very delicate question. But of course, I want to ask it. Top 3 of the atomizers. Let's start with Jean-Philippe. That's a very difficult question, of course. But because what is good for me is not necessarily good for anyone else. So it is always something very personal, difficult to respond. But a list of fire, well, I would say the reconstructibles, for the moment, because I didn't find anything better with a small reservoir, small tank, a K20. So I like to have a squape reloaded, and like to try it because I've heard good things of it. Very interesting tool. But there's a lot of others I like, of course. But the one I always like is the K20. And of course, something which is not reconstructible, a clearomizer, for example. Then I have this Smini. It's also a very good brand, Kangaroo Aerotanks. That's really my preferred clearomizer. Very good taste, and very good experience. It's very easy to use it as well, because the wicks and you have the coil, of course, within the device, and so this Mini is one of the better for me. And for you, do you have the same point of view?
Similar, very similar. And we're going to talk about this a little bit tomorrow, because the way I look at vaping, it's a journey. Okay, you're on a highway, you're on this road, and everybody gets off. Everybody's highway goes in a different direction, right? But everybody gets off at different exits at times. Okay, so I mean, I started at the atomizer exit, and then I went to the cartomizer exit, and then I went to the Vivanova exit for a while. But as far as rebuildables, what I like is K-Fun. Okay, K-Fun, I think it's a fantastic, amazing design, and it works perfectly. It produces some of the best flavor that I've experienced. It's extremely easy to build, extremely easy to work with, and it's very reproducible. Okay, so the coil and the build that you put in there, it's very reproducible. Okay, so I do like the K-Fun, and I was on the Typhoon exit for a long time, right? I did enjoy the Typhoon, and I am excited to try the Squape Reloaded because I've heard nothing but good things about that.
Beaucoup, ouais.
I missed that. Oh, okay, good. Now, as far as replaceables or clearomizers with the replaceable heads, that's where I love where the technology and the innovation is happening, okay? Because we're getting to a point where it is that easy to use. I take the cigarette out of the pack and I light it, and it works the same way every time. So the technology there, the improvements, the innovation is getting fantastic. The two that I happen to like right now would be the Kangaroo Aerotank, the entire line, the Mini, the Mega, and also the Aspire Mini Nautilus. Right? I think those are two fantastic clear.
Alors justement, là, on est en train de parler d'atomisation.
We're talking about atomizers, non-reconstructible atomizers. So some are easier to use than others. And sometimes we get the feeling that we talk about the heart of the atomizer, so the coil, and that we're following the same scheme as the cartomizers, that we're following the same strategy. And of course, you have to change every month, for example, the cartomizer. And the problem is that whenever you have to do this each month, the cost is so high that at the end of the year, it costs as much as the cigarette itself. I didn't really ask this question to myself, because what is very important for me is to change this piece very regularly, because you have atomizers you can replace, or they are reconstructible, and well, you open the atomizer and you see after a few days that the color has changed, and to me it is a bit, I don't like it. And of course, for the vape shops, well, I don't pay a lot of money for the atomizers, because, of course, but well, some shops buy them or sell them at €2. So yes, of course, but I always try to compare this price to tobacco, because when I vape, it is because I don't want to smoke. So I replace it, and for me, if you think of euros and you think of terms of money, well, an atomizer costs you €30 a month, and this is nothing compared to the number of packets you would buy, and this would be a higher price. And of course, yes, this is the point of view I have, but for me, it's so important to change the atomizer regularly, and it costs, well, maybe not €1 to fabricate and manufacture it. But of course, what comes to it is the transport costs, etc., etc. So these are reasonable prices, of course. If you compare it to tobacco and to cigarettes, what do you think, Phil?
He nailed it when he talked about traditional tobacco cigarettes, okay? Now, I know, let's see, this guy right here, I could tell, he wants to buy every mod on the planet, right? You want to buy everything that comes out, you have to have it, and you go out and you buy it. You're not necessarily going to save a whole lot of money vaping, okay? But you can save a whole lot of money vaping if you find something you're happy with and you continue to use that. Right? So even the price of a Clearamizer head is nothing compared to the price of smoking. Okay? So in America, in New York, cigarettes go for $10 a pack. Somebody quick, do the translation. Okay, so $10 is how many euros? Seven. Okay. That's a lot of money. $10 a day is a lot of money. So there is a substantial money savings when it comes to vaping, unless you're like that guy right there who buys everything, right? So, yeah, I mean, you can make vaping as cheap as you want it to be, or you can make it as expensive as you want it to be. More expensive, right? Because, I mean, there's the hobbyists, there's the enthusiasts, and, yeah, they're not necessarily going to save money. But if you find something that you're happy with, that's consistent, that's keeping you off of traditional tobacco cigarettes, it does not have to be expensive. It could be substantially cheaper.
Donc à partir du moment où on s'écarte du tabac, tout est bon à prendre. Est-ce que vous avez...
I'm not sure if you had the time to look around and to look at the manufacture of the liquids. There's a lot of French manufacturers. A lot of liquids are produced in France. And have you been able to try any French types? Do you have like a French taste and an American taste? Does that exist, the difference?
I am so excited to taste your juice. I really am. I literally got right about there, and then I got stopped. So, but the plan is to go around and taste some e-liquids.
Okay.
I mean, I'm excited to see what the differences are, because I've heard some really good things about the French e-liquids as far as the manufacturing processes and the way you guys are doing your testing, which is very, very important. So I am excited to taste your juice.
Ok, ce sera donc l'occasion. Au niveau du matériel, toujours, on revient un petit peu sur cette dimension technique.
To stay technical, are there any tendencies, any developments, for example, coils, airflow of coils, or use of Pyrex, or different types of metal that is used? What are the big tendencies for you this moment? There's good tendencies, of course, and according to me, there is also bad or less good tendencies. For example, the airflow control directly on the tank, because you see more and more types of clearamizers with this indication, and that's a really good thing to go in that direction. And that's also the reason why the companies started fabricating them, manufacturing them, because this has improved on a lot of aspects, the use, and there's the connection as well. It can be adjusted, and according to the kits, you can use liquid with a lot of PG, propylene glycol, or vegetable glycerin, more or less. And there's been a lot of good tendencies towards security as well. Security has improved a lot. The DNA 30 of Evolve, for example, Bovary, all these brands have improved security in their devices, so mechanical and battery. But unfortunately, we also see another tendency. But to what point can we go? Can we augment voltage? As far as how far can we push it? And we see models with 200 watts. And Phil is going to be able to talk us about this. We see different types on the market. So these are bad types, and indeed they are going off the highway in the bad direction. But to what point can we go? Of course, that is a question. So we're going to talk about this subject when we talk about culture as well. What is the most important, one of the most important tendencies as we're talking about technology?
Okay, I was waiting for the translation. I apologize. I'm not just sitting here not talking. Okay.
C'est parce qu'il est relié par satellite.
Okay.
It's linked by satellite.
I do want to talk about airflow. Airflow is fantastic that we're seeing airflow on all of these devices now. Because earlier on in the Clearomizer days, it doesn't wick. It doesn't wick. I can't get it to wick. It's not working. What am I doing wrong? But now we have airflow on pretty much all of these Clearomizers. And airflow is more important to think about than just the tightness or the looseness of your draw, okay? As we tighten up the airflow, what we're doing is we're creating more vacuum, more negative pressure. And what that does is it pulls your thicker e-liquids into your coil. So the days, we're pretty much at a point now where the days of mine just doesn't wick or mine is flooded all the time, those days are kind of over now, if you understand how it works. Okay, so if you're getting gurgling, if you're getting flooding, loosen up your airflow. You're pulling less e-liquid into your Clearomizer, your atomizer head. That will fix that. If you're getting a dry, burnt, scratchy taste, you tighten up your airflow. You get more e-liquid into your coil, and it's a problem solver. It's a fantastic problem solver. The thing that I don't like what's happening right now is. And I don't want to take away anything from anybody who's vaping like this, okay? I don't. But this is something that we're seeing from China right now. They want to give you more watts, more watts, more watts. It's all about watts, okay? So it's 100 watts. It's 200 watts. There are designs on the table right now, 300 watts and 400 watts. And I know this guy right here is waiting for a 400-watt device. I know this guy, okay? When do we stop? Like you said, when do we stop? Are we only going to be happy when we press our button and it's our coil that vaporizes? Because that's where I think we're headed. So I am in a little ethical dilemma with myself because I like to look at all devices for all people. But the way I review and my focus is on vaping not to smoke. That's what I want to be. I want to be the level-headed guy that's talking to people about vaping not to smoke. I don't necessarily want to be that guy that talks to people about vaping for cloud chasing. That's not what I'm all about. And again, not that there's anything wrong with that, okay? But that's not my focus.
On verra probablement tout à l'heure dans la conférence sur la santé que...
So we're going to talk about security and health, of course, temperature-wise. Very important within vaping, because the liquid is going to be vaporized, and there are a number of toxins that are released. We are talking about box, DNA, SOTI, atomizers, And when you have a reconstructible atomizer, do you always need accessories, or you have a small box? And what are the accessories you really need?
One of the most important accessories that you can have is an understanding of what you're doing. That's the most important thing, okay? And
Une connexion Internet.
Internet connection, you mean?
Okay, and and understanding about what your battery is capable of, okay? And understanding about resistance and running resistances in parallel as opposed to series. But what should everybody have? A selection of wire that they're happy with working with. The most important thing is a resistance checker. You need to know what your resistance is before you put it in your device, because you don't want to short. That's where bad things happen. Clippers, wire cutters. Don't get like me, because then you'll have way too many things. You'll have scopes and meters and temperature gauges. You don't need all that stuff. Leave that to me. But yeah, I mean, everybody should have your basics when it comes to rebuilding. But the most important thing, a quality meter. A quality meter so that you can be able to test your resistance to understand where you're at before you screw it onto your device.
Alors, une partie
Very important part as well are the batteries, the interchangeable batteries, and they characterize these mods. What could you tell about this on these batteries? What do you have to know about them? And maybe you need several things as well.
First of all, I think the first piece of advice for the battery is not to buy batteries on eBay. First thing, first advice, do not buy batteries on eBay. You have a lot of, products that doesn't work, batteries that are old, and so on and so forth. And on eBay, it's a festival of fraud, if I may say, and I do not want here to, enter in that debate, but it is a question of safety. It is a question of security. And as far as I've seen myself, when I had a battery, AW, and I have doubts on that because, when I was, testing the battery and I heard click, 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 and there was actually a second battery inside which was smaller. Imagine that. So if you put that in a, mechanism and then you will test a coil or whatever, it will explode. It may explode. So that's very important. Safety, security, it is at the basis of everything for myself and for everyone. So, I would also like to tell that to people. So first, really try to use batteries which are already proved, which have been working with a good fame, and actually which are safe, secure, so, and do correspond to the usage we want to have. And unfortunately, we should, understand better the laws, the rules also, and try to understand the power which is inside those batteries and the power that can be, can be present. That's very important. It is incredible the power that you have in those accumulators. Really impressive. So if you have not if it's not put in the right place, if they are not used in the right way, you can have very, very dangerous effects. So pay attention to that. Do not put the battery in your pocket with your money. That is really, really bad. And, we always know people. We all know people who did that. Of course, I never done that. I'm very lucky. But, I've understood it little by little. And, once you put a battery in your pocket, you just realize that I had no money, actually. But anyway, it is something that, really is important, and it is tricky also, and we do not think at that maybe. So pay attention to that. Be careful. You can create really great problems inside the batteries and have an enormous temperature inside, and all those things. Phil, what do you think? Would you want to react?
First of all, I'm getting the translation here, and your translation is in male, and your translation is in female, and I think that's hysterical, okay? Women, do not put your batteries in your purses unprotected. They will find your keys. guaranteed. I guarantee it. It's happened to at least 2 of my friends, and they destroyed. I don't know if you have Coach bags here in France. Coach, the women? Do you know what a Coach bag is? No. It's like an expensive purse. Okay.
Yeah. Expensive purse.
Yeah. Okay. And destroyed. She destroyed her purse. Actually, burnt a hole through it. You mentioned something, and I want to talk about it because of what happened, what I experienced at the Texas event. Okay, at Vape Blast. You talked about the power in the battery. All right. So what happened at Vape Blast? A device vented at Vape Blast. A device vented violently at Vape Blast. It was as bad as it could get as far as what happened to the device, okay? Thank God no one was hurt, because then it would have been game over. When I heard, what I thought happened was that somebody took like a quarter stick of dynamite, and put it down on the ground to get the event shut down. That's what I thought happened. And then I thought to myself, could that really be what it sounds like? Could that really be what a battery venting sounds like? When the venting in the device fails, because that's what happened, right? The device did not vent. It was an explosion, ladies and gentlemen, okay? The device exploded. Some of the device went down into the ground, put a hole in the concrete floor. The rest of the device wound up in the ceiling, through the ceiling tiles, okay? The battery portion of the device got kind of moved over to the side. It lit on fire. And thank God nobody was hurt. There were a couple of scratches, couple injuries, okay, but nothing bad. It would be my hope or my wish that everybody could experience that in a safe way.
Alors, est-ce que c'est pas aux fabricants ou aux distributeurs?
What about dealers? Is that dealers who should, give information and tell people how to use those devices? Because here, we are like playing with, chemicals, but no one seems to be really responsible or wants to integrate all these information in a booklet, in a brochure, going together with the product. So who should have that role to inform people?
Yeah, well, good dealers do that. Good vendors will do that. Good vendors will sit you down and they will talk to you about battery safety and how to do things the right way. Okay? The bad dealers and the bad vendors will put the build in there for you, not tell you anything about battery safety, and send you off on your way. And you have no idea what you have in your hand. So education is very important when it comes to rebuilding, especially when you're going down lower in ohms. But you need to respect the power that's in that battery, and until you experience it that way, one actually, failing, that's when you have a different kind of appreciation for the power in that battery, because it's unbelievable. It really is.
D'accord, alors pour finir, peut-être sur une note.
Okay, just to end up with a positive idea. So what about no liquid? So Jean-Philippe, could you explain us what is the idea and what's the interest of stipper without liquids?
Ça c'est honnêtement, je suis pas nécessairement la meilleure personne pour parler de ça, parce qu'en fait, steeper le liquide.
I'm not the best person to deal with that, sorry. Actually, the objective for people is to say that will improve, their health, or the mix that there is, which is present, to have an homogeneous distribution, all ingredients perfectly melting inside the liquids before using it. But in a concrete way, you have to open the flask. I mean, how do you handle? Well, we have different ways. People maybe steep as me means that just have it on the bottle alone, and others say no, you just must take the tap off, or all the tap and also the inner part, the tip. Anyway. People have different opinions on that, but I'm not a specialist in that, and I cannot answer, that question, because as I've been working, for a liquid producer, I can see how it is done, how it is produced, how it is melted before getting in the bottle or in the flask. So you must always have that in mind, the tank, the flask, and when I use a new liquid, I do not want. I just want to taste it, to try it. I do not want to leave it, getting old like wine. It's not wine. I just want to start it and put it in my tank and use it immediately. I'm not patient enough, actually, and I'm not the best person. What steeping feel? Do you like it?
Steeping. I get so many questions about steeping. It's funny. I get it in the mail and I vape it up as quickly as I get it. That's what I do. But I also know people out there who take steeping very seriously, okay? I know people who actually went out and bought ultrasonic jewelry cleaners and they put their liquids in there because they think it steeps it faster, okay? So I don't take a whole lot. Does it change the flavor of the liquid? Does it change? Yes, it does, okay? Because what you're doing is you're allowing all of those flavors to mingle and get happy together, okay? So they're getting happy together. But who should be the expert on steeping? Not you, not me, okay? So e-liquid vendors, if you're here, listen, you guys need to be the experts on steeping, right? If your e-liquid is made fresh, you should know exactly how long to steep that e-liquid before it reaches its maximum potential. And you should be including information with your e-liquids when they go out to customers that say, for best performance, this should be steeped for a couple of days, a week, okay? They need to be the experts, not us. How do we know? Right.
Messieurs, merci beaucoup d'avoir répondu.
Many thanks to you all. Many thanks for all these precisions, all these explanations. And Phil and Jean-Philippe will come back in other conferences. In the afternoon, we'll have also a new conference on health, actually, with Nicolas Bonnet from RESPAN, which is the network for prevention of addiction, and also Riccardo Polosa, coming from Catania in Italy, and he will deal with health and all the information that we have on those topics. And we'll also make a point with Phil on about culture of vape, and we'll have also Jan Kunen, which is making a movie on vape also, and also the Oliver Kershaw, who is dealing with all these topics also in America. So many thanks to you all, and we'll meet at 2 o'clock. Thank you. 2:30. Thank you. Bye-bye.